Dr. Rassie Erasmus is taking no chances for the historic two-match mini-series against the All Blacks in New Zealand. This is the clash that the whole world of rugby has been anticipating perhaps more eagerly than any other since the last Rugby World Cup. Can we go to the land of the long white cloud and beat them in their own backyard? Well, today I'm going to reveal that squad to you. I'm going to tell you what I think our match day 23 should look like for the first test match at Eden Park, where the All Blacks haven't lost since 1994, and I'll also give you my analysis of the squad. So let's get straight into it, starting with the forwards in alphabetical order. Loot de Jager, Pieter-Steph du Toit, Thomas du Toit, Jean-Luc du Preez, Eben Etzebeth, Vincent Koch, Siya Kolisi, he's our captain. Good to see him back to full fitness, or at least he's been medically cleared. Wilco Louw, Malcolm Marx, Bongi Mbonambi, Franco Mostert, Oxen Che, Ruan Nortje, Kwagga Smith, R.G. Snyman, Marnus van der Merwe, Marco van Staden, Boan Venter, Jan-Hendrik Wessels, and Jasper Visser. Those are the forwards. Let's look at the backline players now. Damian Dialende, Andre Esterhuizen, Apelele Fassi, Sasha Feinberg Ngomezulu, Ethan Hooker, Jesse Creel, Cheslin Colby, Willie Leroux, Marnie Lebok, Makazole Mapimpi, Kanan Moody, Andre Pollard, Kobus Reinach, Morne van den Berg, Grant Williams, and Damian Willemse. Now, as I mentioned at the start, Rassie clearly taking no chances. If I look at that squad, there is no glaring omission and there's no surprise selection either. The only one where you might say, oh, I didn't think he was going to make it, might be Ethan Hooker. But even then, when you look at everybody else that has been selected, I'm not sure Hooker is going to get any game time on the field of play. But let's begin by looking at the forwards, shall we? Again, it's pretty much as we might have expected. I think that so far in 2025, we have missed the scrumming prowess and overall gameplay of Gerard Steenekamp. That's not to say that Boan Venter hasn't done a good job coming in, but obviously Steenekamp is somebody who is more experienced. He was part of the setup last year, and I think we're kind of missing him a little bit there. I think that Malcolm Marx has been good at hooker, but we've probably been worried a little bit about Bongi Mbonambi. Be interesting to see how Marnus van der Merwe fits in, whether or not he plays. It'll be very interesting, as I say. One thing we need to fix, guys, is our line-out accuracy. The throw-ins have been very poor from both Malcolm and Bongi, it has to be said. When I look at the squad, as I say, my only question marks will be in terms of fitness. So Siya Kolisi, Pieter-Steph du Toit, you wonder, are they 100% fit? It's very important that they are, of course. They've been medically cleared, so you assume that they have been. In terms of the backline, again, as you would expect, I suppose, feeling, and it's a little bit of an uncomfortable one, is that it appears as if Faf de Klerk might be out of the picture now. But he's not part of this. He wasn't part of the setup for the Australia tests as well. And now you start to wonder, is he out of the picture? And there might be one or two other players who I thought might be out of the picture altogether already, but clearly Doc is persisting with them, giving them another chance. I will say this, if we lose both test matches against the All Blacks, and we lose them, dare I say, badly, then I do think there are a couple of players who might be given the kind of talking to that goes something along the lines of, thank you for your service. You've been brilliant for your country for a decade, maybe even longer. But now it's time for us to move on. Thank you very much for the memories. Or alternatively, there might be some petrol left in the tank yet for some of our old war horses. We're going to have to wait and see. I'm going to be very honest with you guys. I wasn't overly impressed by what we did in July against Italy and Georgia. I don't think anybody was overly impressed by what they saw against the Wallabies. And there's this feeling that something isn't quite right. There's a spark missing. And we've discussed at length in some of my other episodes about the lineouts, the breakdowns, the defense, which I think is something that is very worrisome. But I've also got this funny feeling that the boys, I think anyway, that internally, they've been focused on these two tests against the All Blacks the whole year. And I think to a degree, even if only subconsciously, they've taken their eye off of Italy, off of Georgia, and off of Australia. And that 2025 will be defined for them by what happens at Eden Park and then again at Wellington the following week. If you ask me, I don't think that the New Zealanders have been all that impressive. I watched them against France B team essentially, and they did what was expected of them. They won all 3 tests. Were they very impressive? I wouldn't say so. They then took on Argentina, and yes, they won the first test in Cordoba, and then they were easily beaten in Buenos Aires in the second. I would say that if you were worried about what you saw the Springboks do against the Wallabies, then if you saw what the All Blacks did against Los Pumas, I reckon it would have cheered you up. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, going to New Zealand and winning in Auckland and then again in Wellington, it's basically like us trying to climb Mount Everest, isn't it? Can it be done? Of course it can. Will it be done? I think if we're very honest with ourselves, going there and winning 2-0 is probably unlikely. Doesn't mean that we can't do it. Doesn't mean that we wouldn't love it if we could do it. But I would say that if you're a betting man, the smart money, right now, for me anyway, would be that we share the mini-series. So maybe we beat them at Eden Park in Auckland and take away that 30-year record of theirs, 31 years actually, 50 test matches. And then maybe the next week they beat us in Wellington, or they beat us at Eden Park and continue that hot streak, and then we get revenge the following week in their capital city. I think that that is probably the most likely outcome, that we go 1-1 in New Zealand. But wouldn't it be beautiful if we could beat them in both of them? And in order to do that, we're going to have our best available match day 23. Yes, it's unfortunate that we have injuries. Again, I mentioned Gerard Steenekamp. Don't forget that in terms of the backline, we also have injuries. Kurtley Arendse isn't part of this setup. Faf de Klerk is another one. And Cameron Hanekom, wouldn't it have been lovely if he could have been part of the squad? With that said, this is what I think our perfect match day 23 for that test at Eden Park should look like. In the front row, for me, it has to be Oxenchair, Malcolm Marx, and Wilco Louw. I'm going to go with Eben Etzebeth and Ergia Snyman as my lock pairing. And then on the side of the scrum, I'm hoping that he's fit. Siya Kolisi, he'll lead the side from the number 6 jersey. Pieter-Steph du Toit at 7, with Jean-Luc Dupree packing down at number 8. Remember, Visser is still suspended, so he can only come in for that second test match in Wellington. Then the back line, I'm going with Grant Williams and Handré Pollard as the halfback combination. I think that as a combo, a 9-10 combo, that is our best bet in any test match. You've got the flair and the skill and the speed that Williams brings, and then you've got the coolness and the calmness that Handré Pollard brings to the table, and I think that that gives you the best of both worlds. Given the injury to Kurtley Arendse, I'm going to go with Makazole Mapimpi on the left wing with Cheslin Colby on the right. In midfield, it has to be Damien Dialende and Jesse Creel. And then I think they're going to go with Apelele Fassi at fullback. I personally would be more in favour of Damian Willemse, but having said that, I think that right now Willemse's match fitness is something that is, I wouldn't say a mystery, but perhaps there's a question mark over that, and he's more likely to be part of the bomb squad. And so that's why I'll go with Fassi. And I know Fassi has struggled for form in 2025, but I have not forgotten just how good he was last year. And we know he's a good player. He's clearly a player that has a lot of talent and a lot of skill. And I'm backing him to come right against the All Blacks in this ultimate test match at Eden Park. Then we need a bomb squad. I think you have to go 6-2. The replacement front row, I can't see it being anything other than Buan Venter, Bongi Mbonambi. I know there have been questions over Bongi, but I'm going to back him. And obviously, if it doesn't go well, then in the second test, Magnus van der Merwe would come in. But I'm going to back Bongi, and then it's going to be Thomas du Toit ahead of Vincent Koch as the replacement tight head. And then in terms of the second row, I'm going to bring on Loot de Jager. And then I'm actually not sure, guys. I think that there are options here. You could go with Ruan Nortje. You could go with Franco Mostert, who's probably more of a blind side these days, whereas Nortje would actually cover the second row. Then you've got Jean-Luc Dupree, who could come on, but you've also got Kwagga Smith. Guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the following. I'm going to go with Loot de Jager. I'm going to pick Ruan Nortje, so that we're going to have a fresh tight 5 then that will come on. Sia's going to come off for Kwagga Smith, and I'm going to leave Pieter-Steph du Toit, and I'm going to leave du Preez on the field for the full 80 minutes. And that leaves two backline players. The one of them obviously has to be a scrum half, so I'm going to go with Kobus Reinach. And then my utility back, we could go with Damian Willemse. I'm not against that. Again, it's a match fitness question. I'm going to actually go with Sasha Feinberg and Ngome Zulu. So that's what I would be looking to do if I was Dr. Rassie Erasmus, but I'd love to know what you think. Let me know in the comment section down below, what would your team look like for that Eden Park test match? And what do you think about this larger squad? Is it exactly what you thought it would be? Or do you think Doc has missed a beat maybe by not giving one or two other players an opportunity for this, let's be frank, the toughest of rugby assignments? And while you're down in that comment section, may I encourage you to sign up on my Patreon page. What is that, you might ask me if you don't know? Well, in the description area down below, there's a link to my Patreon page. You can sign up as a patron. What would you get if you signed up as a patron? Well, I have a soon-to-be-launched online merchandise store where you can get yourself great discounts. You could stand a chance to win Springbok merchandise. You could also stand a chance to win Springbok match day tickets. We know how expensive those have become these days. You might be able to get me to write an ebook for you on your favorite Springbok rugby player. And in addition to that, you might also be able to win the brand new James Small biography that's coming out soon. And you can even get quarterly Zoom calls with me where we discuss Springbok matches, tactics, players, history, anything you like. If that sounds like something you're interested in, head on over to my Patreon page and sign up as a patron. It starts from as little as $5 per month. That's about 85 Rand these days. I know the Rand is not what it once was, guys, but yeah, $5, not some dollars. And the reason that I would appreciate your support is because I would love to go to Australia in 2027 and cover the Rugby World Cup for you from down under with daily coverage. That will also help me in my quest to be able to do this full time and make even more videos for you guys. If you'd like a little bit more information on exactly how it works, may I recommend this video over here where I discuss in detail how exactly the Patreon program works. And speaking of us going to New Zealand and winning, well, one Springbok captain who knows exactly how to do that is Gary Teichmann. He did it in 1998 when the Boks won the Tri-Nations. I did an exclusive interview with Teich. That's on your screen over here. I recommend that to you. Enjoy it, and I will speak to you next time.